Welcome back to the channel and straight back on the Audi Q5. I say straight back on it like it wasn't 2 months ago, the last video, where me and Chris removed the engine from this. We bought it damaged and unfortunately had a seized engine. Got that, I suppose it's going to be a will it run. It's been sat here a while.
Yeah.
Fire that up actually while we're doing this. It should start. We put a new battery on it. It's a lovely low mileage engine that we fitted in there. So fingers crossed that does fire up. Mind you, both keys are flat, aren't they? So it may have trouble finding those. Yeah, oh, on the button. So before I got here this morning, Liam actually arrived and cut the window out for you. First thing this morning, the quarter light window. Chris has already stripped all of this out. This is previous interior that I've removed, and we had the seat repaired. We'll get into that later. We've had the curtain airbags done, but you've just emptied it out, mate, and you are going to get it in the workshop and get this one fitted on the frame machine.
That's it, mate.
So let's get that boot lid shut for him and get it in. So the damage is a little bit there. The front bumper, obviously, we've put a new front panel on it, door and a quarter, but we seem to have located all of the bits for it now. Hopefully that shuts. There we go. Right, mate, let's get it in. Can't wait to get this one done. We've had it sat around for quite a while, and that has been waiting for parts. We already stripped quite a lot of this car in the previous video, but on this particular one, now it's inside, we need to remove the door, need to remove the bumper, need to remove the aperture rubber. Everything's got to come off ready so that we can get to them spot welds. Moving along very quickly there while I was out, Chris managed to strip off everything else that he's going to need before he starts drilling. So we had quite a bit out anyway, didn't we, for the curtain airbag where we had the roof lining down, but he's had to remove all of this wiring out of the way, the seat controller, everything's got to come out of the way, and expose, of course, all of the spot welds. You've got the spot welds in here. We still haven't got the new quarter, so he won't go too high up and end up cutting too high up, so probably cut down really low just for the minute, but he's going to start the process of removing that. I did just say, are you going to give that a little bit of a pull first? And he said, honestly, it's pretty pointless as we're not saving it and it is all curled round there, so I'm just going to leave. He knows his onions, don't he? I don't even question it. We're going to let him get all this cleaned up, expose everything he needs to expose, and then start the process, hopefully, of getting that quarter panel off, because that is the worst bit of damage and really the only bit of damage now on it, because the back bumper's removed. That had a little tiny bit of damage on it. It was split, needs a new one, but there's no damage behind it, as you can see, and there's not any damage here. It is, you got a little bit on there, and then of course that there where it's hit a pole. Let's let him continue on. So straight on to them spot welds, and don't forget where this is dented in here, quite a lot of it is hard to get to, so you'll see Chris actually straightening out some of it to actually get in there and drill those spot welds out. He's drilled it out and you can see he's peeling back that quarter panel, which is amazing in this time that he's done it, but it looks like it's off. I'm literally running around today doing all the loose ends. I've been in and out everywhere, and Chris just said just leave me to crack on with this, and I was not expecting to come in and see that quarter panel sitting on.
It's quite a small panel, isn't it? There's not loads to it, but there's still quite a bit to unpick here, Rob. But I just got the bulk of it out of the way, and this is a glued edge along here, so that's a little bit trickier. So I've trimmed it off, and I can take that bit off on its own. Same with these. I can take them off a bit at a time that way.
Starting to look good though, mate.
Well, getting into it, aren't we?
Yeah, and obviously that bit's going to have to be either straightened out or replaced as well.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I'll just let you continue on. What, you're going to get that glued edge off? And
yeah, I'm going to carry on up here, I think. Get this all tidied up, and then, yeah, get that glued piece off.
Right, mate, well, we'll leave you to it.
Well,
we did notice earlier when we brought it in onto the ramp, when Chris was last driving it, he said, oh, there's something seriously wrong with this. Now, you can see that wheel is slightly turned in, but look how bad that one is. I said to Chris, I can't even believe we got it down off the ramp and attempted to drive it. I genuinely just didn't notice in the last video, but so far so good. Let's let him just continue on. So now on with the whippy wheel, and this makes such a mess removing the seam sealer. You can see Chris has got gloves on, he's got that face shield on, and you do have to keep it on because that seam sealer goes everywhere with a whippy wheel, but it is the fastest way to get it off. Just making some more cuts there, removing a bit more of the material, and I think we're ready to take a look at it. So I won't pretend, I mean, what you've done there, because I wasn't here, mate, but it looks like you've chopped a lot more out.
Yeah, tidied up this edge, took the old quarter panel off from there.
So the light panel stays in?
Light panel's going to stay, yeah. Took this panel out, which has given me access to get to this bit. And I don't know if you've previously mentioned about the price of a new quarter panel.
Yeah, 900 plus VAT from TPS.
£900 plus VAT.
Yeah.
So you've found one, haven't you?
It's on its way, yeah. I've managed to find from Nero, actually.
That's right.
I rung him up and said, have you got a quarter panel in yet? And he said, Rob, we have. Not only have we got a quarter panel in, he's got a black one in, so we've managed to actually secure the door and the complete quarter, and they're going to cut it right up here for you, Chris, through here, and then right through the floor, so that you've got...
Well, we'll have the inner.
Yes.
So I'm going to change part of the inner as well. It's a bit more work.
Yeah.
But it's quite severely damaged, that bit of inner, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm going to change a bit of that as well. And fingers crossed that bit turns up.
Yeah. As soon as they've cut it out, they said they're going to give me a call. So.
Yeah.
And then hopefully...
So I'll get a bit more removed.
Yeah.
And then I probably can't go a lot further till we got the other one sitting here.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
I just noticed as well, you've even taken the door off.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, well, that door, I don't even think I mentioned it. I kept saying it wouldn't open throughout the last 2 videos. And then I realised when I pulled that wire, actually all you got to do is pull the bloody handle up.
That's
and it does open.
It does, yeah.
So, yeah.
Which was handy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was handy because I thought it was all caved in and it caved that in behind it. And it hadn't. That is actually where it is supposed to be. So, quite happy with that. All right, mate, we'll let you continue on and I'll carry on with that big project outside I'm on.
Nice one.
So now moving on to that damaged inside bit there, and Chris is just going to cut out that just to get rid of the damage. Then he can remove the wheel, get in there and actually drill out those spot welds and remove that inner panel completely, ready for the new one to go in. I reckon I've definitely got our money's worth out of this trip. Got the door in there, it's in beautiful condition. I've wedged it out with some shrink wrap so that nothing hits it. Got the wheel arch liner there, got the wheel arch, AdBlue pipe, rear fog light, some of the under trays, rear bumper strapped down, ain't going nowhere, complete quarter panel, and you can see I've got a strap pulling it that way, I've got one pulling it that way, I've got one going right across it there, I've got another one on it there pulling it this way, another one pulling it that way, the winch cable. And I was wondering where I was going to put this, but I've managed to wedge the under tray all the way behind the back seats there. Got plenty of room to drive. Everything's secure, nothing's insecure. And there is that complete quarter panel. And up there, look, is the car they've cut it off of. That is actually a 2020, that one. And of course, we're at Nero. I'll put a link for them in the description down below. They, I wouldn't say they're reasonably priced. I wouldn't say they're really cheap, but they are all genuine Volkswagen parts, and 90% of it is on the shelf. We had to wait a few days for this while they got it off, but let's get back to the yard, give it to Chris and let him crack on. So I've sped this right up because it is just a bit repetitive and repeat, and that is saving a second-hand quarter panel. You've got to really take your time with it, and you can see Chris is being really taking his time with it and getting it 100% because we're reusing it. So very tedious work there, drilling out spot welds.
It is what it is though,
You've not done it for a while though, to be fair.
No,
it has been a while,
swerved
hasn't it? Yeah. Well, we tried not to buy anything that needed all this.
No.
Well, we got lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
You repaired the quarter panel on the X1, which was great.
Yeah.
And you repaired another quarter recently, which saved all of this hassle. But you see on the time lapse there, it is just repeat. it is a case of drilling out all those spot welds. Mate, you've got...
Yeah, I got on quite well. There's a slight change of plan though from what I've unpicked on that car, and we'll go over and I'll show you in a minute. Originally on that other car, I've separated it through here, Rob.
Yes.
I've decided I'm changing that panel as well.
Okay.
And I'll show you why. Come around here. You can see it just clearer on this, that this is a MIG brazed seam around here all the way. And that is well, for one, we haven't got a machine to do it. So the last couple of times we've had to borrow.
We did, didn't we?
But it is really, really tricky to achieve that factory finish on there like that. So I was just having a quick look at it and I thought, well, there's a joint through here with the back panel to this panel. So I can split it up here, factory joint. I can split up here, factory joint, and just join through wherever I join the quarter itself and keep that on the bit I'm fitting.
That makes sense.
And I'm pretty sure that when I offer it up, it will be able to, it does tuck in under this piece and it tucks under this piece. So it may just have to manipulate that out a little bit, but it should slide in with it. And then that way, we're going to have to go back to this one.
That's
sorry.
all right, mate. It's not a problem. We're not...
It's just...
people like your explanation of the job.
It just means when this panel is fitted on the car, although I will have to put a joint through here, like I am through the quarter panel, all this remains factory.
So no MIG brazing?
No MIG brazing, and replicating that sealer joint is, as you know, is quite tricky as well.
Yeah.
So that all stays factory, and we join it up here, which is a joint anyway. So that's what I've decided there, and I've separated that panel from there, which I'm going to use that as well, but I've separated it so it makes it a lot easier to get into these because I'm changing that bit of panel that we pointed out previously is quite badly damaged.
The inner tub, basically.
The inner wheel arch. So that bit's the part of the boot floor that's not being changed, but this bit is. So I can get in there nicely, and then just put that back over the top when done. And it makes fitting this a lot easier as well because you've got one less bit to try and that has to tuck in behind there.
Right.
So,
okay.
So yeah, so that's how far we've got really.
Mate, that all seems to make sense.
Yeah, so a little bit more work, and that should be off of this, and we can get rid of that bit, and then start trimming down to size.
Well, I'll leave you to get on to that. We just won another one, so I need to head down to Sandwich Copart and pick one up.
Great.
And again, onto this same bit of quarter panel, so he's keeping that bit of back light panel there and decided to actually not touch those MIG braze welds and then go right up the side there, cut through it, drill out the spot welds and remove it as one complete section. And I think we are there and off. And there we go. There is that new quarter panel ready for the car. Not trimmed up yet, of course, to size. And Chris was just saying how light it actually is. It doesn't weigh a lot and it is steel. So that is the quarter panel all trimmed off. What is interesting is all of that expanding foam that's in there and the glue point. So only glued there at the back, glued there on the pillar, on the C pillar, and then just glued on the jacking point down there, 2 parts of it. But that is it all stripped out, and this is now stripped to the same as that car over there. Chris is getting his trestle out and you're going to start
trim it to size now.
Trim it
Let's
up,
just
clean
rough
it up.
cut that to get it off, yeah. So I'll trim it to size and then overlay it and trim the car to fit the panel.
Try it on.
Yeah, a little way off that yet, but yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, we're going to have to clean up a lot of this foam before you start welding, ain't we?
Oh yeah, and it's going to have that put back in it afterwards.
Yeah.
But that is, that's just squirty foam, isn't it?
Yeah, do you think that's for sound or do you think that's to stop any rattles or?
It probably is sound, if I'm honest, because there's what I don't know if you've shown that bit there. It's kind of kind of created a baffle between this void and this void, hasn't it? So yeah, it probably is, and then obviously the glue is structural. So I'm guessing that they had that for just a little bit extra on the jacking point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's obviously part of the design process.
I can't wait to see that on the car.
I mean, as you know, they try to make them as light as possible because that is all to do with the economy and then that affects the emissions. So anywhere they can nick a little bit, I guess they do, make it a bit thinner. If they have to put glue on it, strengthen it back up, I guess.
All right, mate. Well,
It is tough to get through though, that glue.
Is it?
Yeah, it does what it says on the tin. Put it that way.
Tougher than the spot weld, structural glue.
Yeah. And we replace that the same with the Worth OEM.
Original stuff.
Yeah, so there we go.
All right, mate, we'll let you get that cleaned up and cut to size. All right. So just prepping, getting that last little bit of material off that he's no longer going to use on the actual car. And then I think we can move on to test fitting that new panel. Everything's off and cleaned up. Let's take a look. So you're there with it, mate, are you? All good to go?
This bit's pretty much there, Rob, ready to offer up. Couple of little tiny bits on there just to finish off, but bulk of that's done as well. So yeah, we can get that offered up in a minute and hopefully get a couple of aperture clamps on it, and then we'll probably get the door on, I guess, and offer that up.
Look quite nice for that door on. It's in colour.
It's in colour, yeah, and we can just then check the gaps, can't we, and then go from there, really.
Yeah, all right then, mate. Well, let's go and get that door in because it's still in the truck. And the
other thing is I've got to find the locking wheel nut key so I can take that wheel off.
I don't think we got one with it because I believe you actually got them ones off, but we got a nice kit.
I've been putting it off, but yeah.
We got a nice kit now, though, haven't we?
Yeah, so we give that a try.
Yeah, and we give it a mention as well, because someone kindly sent that to us.
Yeah.
Right, let's get it. Look at that new quarter panel on it. It's so nice to see it. Just with some aperture clamps on there and some mole grips, just getting it all in place. And I think what Chris will do there, he's marking it up, getting ready to make the cuts on the car.
It's always nice to see after you've done all that unpicking, and you effectively, when you're using a second-hand panel like this, you're doing the same work twice. You're removing the old one and you're removing the replacement as well. So anyway, always nice to get to this point where the quarter panel actually slots on the car, and it all kind of, let's stand back a little bit, it all kind of starts making sense again. So I did want to just run through a little bit, because in previous videos we've had comments from a few people saying, how do you trim the quarter panel to fit the car? And a simple way of putting that really is, I trim the car to fit the quarter panel, if that makes sense. So what I do, when I'm removing the replacement quarter panel, I'll always look for some reference points that I can use. And in this case, I've used a reference hole here, which is for this cover, which will go back on the car there. So I've used that as a reference point. I've also used here a reference point, which is this weather strip rubber clips on, and these have got quite small holes, so what I've got is that lined up there. So I'll cut that, but when I'm prepping the car, I'll make sure I've got enough left, if that makes sense, so I have an overlap, and I've got that reference point on both pieces then, and I do that on all the points of the car. So in this case, I've got this reference hole, and round here we've got this reference hole. So you try and look for those points before you decide where your cuts are going, so you know further down the line you're going to have something to work off. Anyway, so once that's established where you're cutting, trim your new panel, trim the car, fit the quarter panel, and then that means once you've got all those points lined up, you can go and scribe a cut line in the car, and then I will remove the quarter panel, which I would have to do anyway, because you have to prep all your surfaces with weld through primer, so it has to come back off. You're not creating extra work by doing it this way. So anyway, I'll remove that, which you'll see in a minute, and that will give me all my cut points to trim the car. That's how I do it. That's how I've kind of always done it, if you like. And yeah, I think it's probably the most accurate way, if I'm honest, because these points, these holes, will always be in the same place on every car. With some people work off maybe the welds and try and line up all the welds, which, to be honest, quite often, as you can see from this, where you see the centre where I've drilled the other one behind, they all line up pretty accurately, but there can be a little bit of tolerance in those. There is never any tolerance in these holes. They're all the same position on every car. So anyway, I hope that kind of explains it a little bit better. And I'll remove the quarter panel, and you'll kind of see them, the bit I've got to trim off.
And off, do those final cuts, and then it's going to be the last time trying the quarter panel on there with the door, and then of course we can take it back off one last time, put some weld through primer on there, and then fit it permanently. But this is the last temporary fit, and all of the lines line up. Let's get the door on and take a look, see what it looks like once it's all back together. And that is the end of the replacement panel, and as you can see, we definitely got a bit more there than what we needed, but you're always better off having too much than not enough.
That's right, Rob.
The new door that we got has been fitted. I'm going to say it, I never moan about things. I'm a bit disappointed about that, because that door was £500.
Yeah.
He left the handle in it, told me they'd leave the latch in it, and actually completely stripped this door. So I've just had to strip our door just to get our door latch in there.
Bit of a shame, isn't it?
It is a bit of a shame, but that is the quarter panel.
Yep.
All our picture clamped on.
Yep.
All lined up.
Trimmed where I previously scribed it, Rob.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, aperture clamps, like you say, so you can shut the door now, mate. And that should line up pretty...
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds beautiful,
yeah,
mate.
I mean,
Those
it's not
lines.
welded yet, so once it's all welded up, there might be a little bit of tweaking, but that was all right, isn't it? So the gap's quite nice.
It's all very, very nice.
And as I pointed out a bit earlier on, when you use like these holes, you can't really be wrong, can you?
No.
So that's quite pleased with that, really.
Let's shut that and stand back here a little bit. Oh, mate, look at that from where it's come from.
Yeah.
It looks quite deceiving. Don't look like it's that much work.
Oh, it's tiny little bit of panel.
No,
isn't
do you know what it is? Because we've put it together in colour, it almost looks like the job's done.
That's right.
And it's far from it, because
that's right.
we've got to have that quarter panel. Have you weld through primered that, or have we run out?
No.
Right, I need to go out and get you some weld through primer, but I know that you're going out tonight for a bit of dinner, aren't you? And you've probably just about had enough of that.
Yeah, I think really I'm going to have a bit of a clear up now.
Yeah.
And I will probably put a couple of tech screws in here, Rob.
Yeah.
And then I can move on to just, I can't put this panel on yet because I want to weld this panel on, but I want to offer it up, make sure, same thing, we've got everything lines up nice, but I can't do that with these mole grips in the way.
No.
So I think I'll probably have a clear up, and then I'll have a play with that, and then when I know everything's in the right place, and I'll call it a day then.
Yeah.
And then it's...
Once you have had a clear up,
Yep.
I don't know if everyone can see all of that crystallisation. That's actually AdBlue.
It is,
and we've now got the pipe, so I
yeah.
need to get that fitted while it's on there as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that is going to be the end of today's video. As usual, if you did enjoy it, we would really, really appreciate the thumbs up. You can share it on all your social networking sites, and you can follow us on all of our other socials. The links are in the description down below. Don't forget, like, subscribe and share, and we'll see you very, very soon in the next one.